A second. Recording is on now.
Sir, put it in slideshow, sir. Yes, great.
Good evening, everyone. A very warm welcome to our distinguished panel members and all our honored guests who have joined us to celebrate the International Women's Day today. Friends, this day offers us an opportunity to reflect on progress made and to call for change in the stereotypes, prejudice women face globally. It is a day to re-examine our company's policies and challenge our business leaders to ensure that women receive fair and equitable support at the workplace. So today, I would like to begin with an optimistic note and say that we are inching towards a world, though very, very slowly, that is, a world which is diverse, equitable, and inclusive. A world where differences are valued and biases are looked down upon. A world where women share the dice with men and get a rightful seat on the table. If and when this happens, it will be a win-win for all stakeholders. And statistics shows that achieving gender parity in workforce will help in increasing India's GDP by more than 25%. But unfortunately, we have seen a reversal trend in female participation in workforce, especially during the last 2 years of the pandemic. And during the lockdown, almost 50% of women lost their jobs compared to around only 10% of men. The gender gap shows that women were more prone to losing jobs, not only because of the crisis caused by the pandemic, but also they were willingly doing it to balance the increased workload caused by the pandemic. As leaders, I think we will really have to put an extra effort to bring women back to workforce and make workplaces responsive to their needs. So today we are very fortunate to have with us a galaxy of very accomplished women leaders who will share with us as to how are they driving the change in their respective organizations. With these few words, I now welcome all the panel members and our guests and now request Mr. Mukesh Jain, our chairman, ISTD Delhi chapter, to give his welcome address.
Namaskar, good evening. A very warm welcome on the very important day, International Women's Day. I don't think today only is the International Women's Day. Every day is Women's Day. Let me tell you, we are celebrating it, it's okay. But we have to celebrate Women's Day every day because without celebration, we can't survive. This is my thinking. And the theme for this year given by for International Women's Day, Gender Equality Today for a Sustainable Tomorrow, which itself says a lot of things. So on behalf of ISTD Delhi chapter, NIPM Delhi NCR chapter and TalktoAngel, I welcome all the wonderful, beautiful, HR leaders today, this evening. Sagarika ji, Annapurna ji, Kiranmai ji, Shirley ji, all Bobby ji, who's moderating the session, and our own Pritima ji for this wonderful session. I welcome everybody here. I welcome my all past national presidents, chapter chairpersons, all seniors and students from various institutes. I feel people will have a wonderful evening. So all the best to you all. And I once again welcome you all. Over to Pritima ji. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Jain. Thanks a lot. So before we begin, I would like to introduce all the panel members. So I will go alphabetically. So the first leader on the panel is Miss Annapurna. Ms. Annapurna is a HR thought leader. She possesses more than 25 years of rich experience in HR operations, change management, leadership, L&D, and OD. As a country human resource head and OD strategist, she has worked across sectors like aeronautics, infrastructure, software, sales and service in organizations like ELGI, Hindustan Aeronautics Limited, Raman Board, Manhattan Associates, and many more. She's currently heading HR and admin function in Fime India Private Limited. Annapurna is an EI enthusiast and has delivered emotional awareness programs to thousands of people worldwide. Annapurna is a certified director by Institute of Directors and a certified design thinking practitioner. She's a recipient of many awards. She renders social service as a volunteer and fundraiser to Balemani, an organization which focuses on girl child and women empowerment. So welcome, Annapurna. So good to have you with us.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Okay. So the second on the panel is Bobby Patnaik. Bobby is also our moderator. Bobby works with Infosys in the capacity of HR business leader. She is head HR for a key technical horizontal for close to 10,000 employees. In addition, she also handles HR for the top 50 accounts of the company, and she spearheads key EI initiatives for Infosys India. She's an author on the side and has published a book of short stories. Welcome, Bobby. Good to have you with us. Welcome. Okay.
Hi, Prashant.
So the third on the panel is Dr. Sagarika Gushal. She's the managing director of Match Board, works in business transformation and DEI practices. She has been covered by Business Today as one of the next 30 most powerful women in India, Indian business, and the 50 most influential HR leaders in Asia. Her board affiliation with various companies and HR practices spanning 25 years across a spectrum of industry sector that includes telecom, financial services, aviation, media, entertainment, and retail. She's a prolific author and a prominent speaker at various industry forums and educational institutions. Her talk specifically focuses on organization culture. She is known for leading transformation and innovation people practices, and her expertise lies in helping organizations foster a culture of diversity and inclusion, leading due diligence for MEAs, organization development, and corporate governance for board. A very warm welcome to you, Sagarika. Okay, so further we have Shirley Berla. Shirley is a strong believer in power of grit and communication, has more than 25 years of cross-functional experience in corporate communication and human resource. As a vice president HR, she's responsible for corporate HR and L&D for Shapoorji Pallonji Group. She also leads D&I initiatives and is the presiding officer of the Gender Neutral Board. And prior to Shapoorji, she has worked with Siemens for 14 years in varied leadership roles. Her expertise and extensive work in driving people's strategies was recognized at a global level, securing her a seat at the Global Core Committee. Shirley proactively embraces change and has actively changed job profile every 3 to 4 years, even within the organization. She's mother of 2 children. She loves traveling and coaching students. She's also a member of Women's India Chamber of Commerce and Industry, WICCI. So this was about Shirley. Welcome, Shirley.
Thank
Good to have you. And last but not the least, we have Dr. Kiranmai Dutt Pendyal. And Dr. Pendyal brings together a unique blend of keen academic focus and organized experience. She has successfully straddled diverse roles in teaching, training, human resource development, consulting, quality, and technical writing. She's an accomplished author with multiple of her books prescribed as curriculum by various universities across the country. She's currently the head of HR, Western Digital India, which is a Fortune 500 company. And prior to this, she has worked in, as a country head, HR and site administration for the Intercontinental Exchange, which is ICE. Dr. Dutt was also the corporate vice president HR at AMD, Advanced Micro Devices. She was the regional CHRO, CBP, HRBP for the vast region outside Americas, Greater Asia, and EMEA region, and straddled the region responsibility for strategic HR plans. She was head of Center of Excellence at the ISP Center for Leadership, Innovation, and Change. She is also the former chairperson of AmCham, ISTD, IESA, and executive member of NHRD, CII, HR, CII, IWN committees. She's also the governing body member on several higher educational institutions, deemed universities, as well as on the United Way of Hyderabad, a non-for-profit for impact organization. She's on the board of several higher education universities, author of multiple books, recipient of several awards. Welcome, Dr. Pendyal. And I once again thank the entire panel for being a part of this event. Thank you very much. Now I hand it over to Bobby. Over to you, Bobby. We can begin.
Sure. Thank you, Pritima. Am I clearly audible?
You are.
Okay. Thank you. Thanks so much. And a very warm welcome, gentlemen and ladies. Let's start by breaking the bias in the very first sentence itself. And I also heard Dr. G.P. Rao say, students as well. So girls and boys out there as well. So today, my son called me from Delhi, from Gurgaon, to wish me a happy International Women's Day. And I was quite surprised. Primarily because, I believe that there are two kinds of people. One who don't believe in an International Women's Day per se, and he's in that category. And their thought is every day is International Women's Day. So, every day we should fight biases. So why should you have a specific day to celebrate it? And that's a fantastic stance to take. And hence I was surprised. And then there are the second set of people, and I belong in the second one, who believe that while that is true, it's still important to have one day that's committed to the cause, to keep reminding us of the road traveled, the road ahead, to re-energize us, to reinvigorate us, and to recharge us. So to all those who are in the second category, and those who are in the first category as well, a very happy International Women's Day. In my mind, and we would want to know from our panelists today as well, what in one sentence to them breaking the bias means. But in my mind, breaking the bias is obviously about questioning all our deeply held customs, practices, beliefs. And it's not just about women, right? It's about any marginalized segment of the society, of the workplace as such. However, today being International Women's Day, obviously we have a spotlight on women. And also because they seem to be on the receiving end more often than not, right? As we speak, the war rages in Ukraine, and the newspapers say that the International Rescue Committee has warned that of the over 1.5 million refugees that have fled the country, the vast majority are obviously women and children who are at grave risk of violence, exploitation, and abuse. And I was just thinking to myself, imagine being a pregnant woman, fleeing your home, fleeing everything that you have known all throughout your life, with no access to maternal care, with no access to, in fact, any kind of care, right? Only at the mercy of the earth and the sky. As we begin this session, my silent tribute to all these women, and in fact, to all of the affected people in Ukraine, but more so to the marginalized communities who always face more challenges than what the mainstream does. We have a galaxy of speakers today, whom Pritima introduced, and we have a topic very close to our hearts: women leaders driving change, aka wellness in their workplaces. So without much further ado, let's get started. My first question goes to you, Shirley, right? You are heading, HR in such a large organization in such a senior position. Primarily, we have heard that employee wellness has always been, and traditionally so, always perceived as a quote unquote soft issue, right? Revenues, margins on the business side, and even on the people side, attrition, people satisfaction have been the hard, so to say, parameters. How did the pandemic change this perception? Shirley.
Yeah, so thank you, Bobby, for that question. I think the challenges imposed by this pandemic has impacted all our lives. More so the way we work, the workplace, or let's say the workforce in general. I mean, the fears, the uncertainties of life and livelihood, or let's say the loss of a loved one, because we've seen these COVID things very close in our families and friends. The social isolation that is enforced upon us by the pandemic, all this created a lot of stress and obviously has impacted our mental well-being. And as Pritima and you said, women are the brunt bearers of all of this. It has impacted them even more so. While the employees, it has blurred the lines in the personal and professional life. What has happened is the managers or the corporate leaders have also got a sneak peek into employees' lives, the challenges that they are going through. They've become aware of the fact that how these mental health issues are impacting their professional work, how it is leading to the productivity loss. And I think the pandemic has created generally an awareness that employee well-being is a crucial factor that they cannot afford to ignore. Moreover, I think a lot of research reports have also helped us to create this general awareness. I mean, there are trillions of dollars of loss that is attributed because of employee wellness and through, let's say, productivity loss or the attrition, or let's say, the absenteeism that we have seen. And what I like about this is the research report has linked employee wellness to financial implications that employee can suffer if they ignore it for any reason. So all these awareness, all these things have created a sense of urgency amongst all the corporate that employee wellness is something that they cannot ignore. It directly hits the bottom line. Yeah, I mean, we have seen a lot of progressive organizations before pandemic who had employee. In fact, one of the organizations that I have worked in had employee well-being as a important element in the employee welfare. However, this was always written as a best practice. It was not a mainstay. Today, with the pandemic, the challenges, the heightened awareness of the mental well-being or employee well-being, it has created an urgency. And I think one of these positive element or outcomes of all these challenges I see is that because of the financial implications linked to the employee well-being, corporates have begun to take this extremely seriously. And they have realized that, just paying excellent salaries and giving them growth and development platforms is not enough. Taking care of their well-being, including them, being inclusive is the mainstay that has come to arrive. So I'm very grateful for that.
Thank you, Shirley. I think you put it very succinctly that the paradigm shift which has happened is basically move wellness from the peripheral to the mainstream, right? And all other agencies, whether it is research or the ability to bring financial benefits to employee wellness, is just helpful. Extremely good point. Thank you, Shirley. On that note, let me go to Dr. Kiranmai. So, Kiranmai, while obviously during the pandemic, there has been a growing awareness about mental wellness, right? And I think we've seen a lot of people, a lot of agencies come through very forcefully in terms of helping, people and segments struggling with mental issues. There is still a disproportionately larger spotlight on physical wellness, right? Both at an individual level as well as at an organizational level. So what do you think, industries in India are doing in this space, number one? Second, what in your opinion should be done, which is not currently being done? Kiran.
Thanks, Bobby. And a beautiful way what Shirley has talked about in terms of how it adds to the bottom line and not necessarily just as a best practice, which we used to talk about earlier. So the pandemic has, we all know what we dealt with now for the last 2 years plus and what we continue to deal with now. It converts into an endemic and then we move on with life and then war comes in. So we are all caught up in this midst. But if I zoom in and look at corporate segment, what has it done to the ethos, to the mindsets in terms of mental health taking center stage? A couple of stats I want to share. Every organization, I'm sure, started off with looking at physical fitness as a very important one because its implications. And why did they start investing in that? Or, it started with the US looking at the 401k plan and giving incentives because it's also in terms of hurting in terms of the premiums you pay and, how do you, same thing came into India. And we started looking at, okay, if we can educate our employees, it's going to help us in terms of how do we address the insurance relevant stuff. But it didn't stop there. We realized, especially in the last 2 years, people were so traumatized, not just because they were impacted by the second wave of COVID, but they've actually seen youngsters in their families, near and dear ones. There are families where I know of employees where the grandparents are lost, the parents are no more, and it's just the child surviving. So suddenly it's like, the ship has gone rudderless. And even though the sail is functional, you feel you're so helpless. You either feel you want to just go, that suicidal instinct, as I say. It was very scary. It was scary because perhaps it caught us napping as corporate leaders and others, because you never looked at it with such grave importance and significance, never before. And now we realized employees are not, it's not just about hospitalization, it's not about the physical health no longer, but mental health issues, the trauma, the suffering, the depression, anxiety have become a reality for a large majority of our employees. So that really caused people to sit up and notice, because you are in danger or in risk of not, you can't ignore, it's staring at you. Every manager was challenged and they're not equipped to deal with it. Someone tells them, I'm going through this, they don't even know after the second sentence what to tell them, because they're not trained to be counselors. They're not used to handling, human trauma, especially the mental relevant trauma, or someone going through depression and going into their own shell, not responding to an email, not responding to, a phone. So, and you can't even visit them given the pandemic. Look at the strangeness, and you're trying to reach out through a family. What is in the employee records? Can we reach out? Should we? And then there is this interesting dilemma we all go through in terms of privacy. Can we disclose? Oh, he said this to me, but can I share it with anyone? Because it entails to the privacy of the employee information. So it was so complex. It's multiple layers. And then I think that was a rude wake-up call to majority of us in the corporate world, what we deal with, and said, forget everything. It's not on posters that we're going to say employee safety and well-being, people first, products and profits will follow. All these beautiful statements we make. It's a reality. We have to live it. We have to walk the talk. So that's how I think, just as we talk about digital acceleration and so many other things which happen, the goodness of pandemic, right? There are virtues of pandemic as well. This is yet another side of pandemic, which gave us a rude shock, but also made us sit up, notice, because it's in your face, it's hitting you. And quickly, we started reaching out to mental health champions and experts. So psychologists, counselors or psychiatrists suddenly were in great demand, primarily because you realized you cannot extend that kind of help. You need expert help to deal with such trauma. And nothing else will help such individuals come out of that particular precarious. It was precarious because we did have those scenarios where several of us, while as HR, we are not expected to know of every case, and they're reaching out to our employee assistance program, EAP. And we had a lot more counselors signed up now into that program. And we only get an update and we can see the uptick in numbers. But what we have done as a corporate is we have created the awareness and sensitization. We were bold enough to call it out, openly start sensitizing our managers and said, this is a reality. So let's together help our employees navigate through these troubled waters. So we started requesting them. We started, constantly reminding them in Ask Me Anything meetings, town halls, wherever, saying, please speak up, do reach out. I mean, it's going to be confidential. Do speak to a counselor. So that is what we have done extensively. And there's something else we have done, which I feel very, very proud of. We've created mental health champions, as we call. We sought volunteers among our employees who, just as we talk about diversity champs and various things where initiate culture champs and so on, we said, let's call it out that this is a reality we all have to. And we called out for those who wants to volunteer. We actually trained them. So we quickly pulled together a training for our mental health champions across the globe. And we created some mental health ambassadors, as we would call, and region wise, we've created those structures, and they have connect every quarterly, every monthly, depending on what they see. They'll only know the uptick in the cases, but they won't know who. But what we have propagated is, we said employees can reach out if they choose to these mental health champions who are amidst them. They are their peer group members, their own managers, whosoever it may be. If they're comfortable, they can reach out to them. Just as a beautiful concept, I don't know how many of you are familiar, as an industry, we've done some initiative much before the pandemic we started. This is for women specifically, called Margadarshik program in the state of Telangana. So we have this Cyberabad Security Council where all corporates sign up, we are members. So we created this program where it could be domestic abuse, it could be anything where it disturbs a woman and it causes her a lot of pain or trauma or depression or anxiety. So we crafted, and these are all professional employees and others who volunteer, and we go through this program of mentorship counseling. And so it's like the first aid kit, right? So we become the first touch point where someone reach out. It's a helpline which is crafted and it cuts across all industries, and they reach out in case they need help. And then if we think this individual requires more additional expert help, then it's diverted to a psychological counselor or a psychiatrist. So long story short, what I'm saying is we have now gained momentum in addressing this problem. At least we started in the right direction. So you asked for my opinion. Why is this significant? Why? Oh my God, I can't tell you. I mean, it's not just about losing life, right? It's about you leading a vegetable life. You can be a threat to yourself, because we also saw that it's self-threatening because you have a suicidal instinct. Or you can be a threat to the others, because in that anger, in that aggression, you're going to hurt others or hurt yourself. So it is not healthy to just think about physical health, but also extend it to mental health. I'll pause. I hope I addressed your question.
Thank you. Absolutely, Kiranmai. And I think you brought out a couple of wonderful points. Mental health champs, fantastic initiative. You're right. And you spoke about Margadarshi. I think that brings to the fore the kind of spotlight which is thankfully come now. And again, totally, I think all of us can empathize, with the anecdotes that you spoke about, this late night calls saying that, somebody, the persecution complex that people have suffered from. We've seen anecdotes where entire families have undergone depression, right? I remember a couple of these kind of cases which came up where the employee called saying, not only am I feeling depressed, but I believe my spouse and even my kid is undergoing. So it's been really traumatic. Thank you. Some wonderful pointers there. Moving on, let me go to Dr. Sagarika. The other chord that you touched, by the way, Kiranmai, on a lighter note, is about data privacy. I believe especially, in organizations today, the data privacy office is the portfolio which is most inundated with queries, because I don't even want to answer an employee before going to the DPO office and checking with them. But yeah, that's on a lighter note. Dr. Sagarika, so you have, straddled multiple industries, multiple organizations, you work across communication, entertainment, media, all of that, right? Where there is substantially larger headcount of women as such as well. My question to you is there a gender bias when it comes to wellness? Why are always women put in charge of steering wellness initiatives? Is that another stereotype that we have not been able to break? Sagarika.
Yeah, I think my internet is giving a bit of a trouble, but I'll take the tail of it. Universally, what you and we all have worked in different locations. So you go to America, there are different, there are different people, different culture, different food, different colors of people. Go to Europe, similarly, Asia, or wherever across the world, there are different cultures, different way of working, etc., etc. What doesn't change is the gender. And everywhere men and women at workplaces exist, and the LGBT, and also what exists is the stereotypes. So across the world, go and ask, the man is the boss and woman is bossy is a common sentence. So we all all in our careers have faced this stereotype, and the stereotypes are here. I can only say that in my entire career journey, every time I have on the Women's Day or on various occasions, I share my personal stories combating this gender stereotypes and championing the cause of women who are working at workplace, who are working, and what should be done and what should men do. And it's going on. I am also like you, Bobby, on the second, important for us to get on board for women issues. But the fact remains the same, that we are talking about it for ages together, and we are really inching, slowly towards. Is there an issue?
Yeah, no, I think there was a little bit of patchiness initially, but I think it's okay. I mean,
it's all right now.
Yeah.
So coming back to stereotypes, I think stereotypes are here to stay for a longer time till the generations change. And I think we all need to make that effort to consciously stay away from those biases and call it out when you face it. Most of us also don't do it. We don't want to get into that in the fear of being called bossy. And second, I have a gynecologist friend, and she wrote a book of and I really, it touched somewhere my heart as HR professional as well. Chronicles of a gynecologist, and there she has talked about that women are not dying of diseases, which we cannot treat. That means the doctors cannot treat. They are dying because societies have yet to decide that their life is worth saving. So doctors, gynecologists who work in several things, we are still in this country where the boy child is more important than the girl child, and the mother is less important than the father. So I mean, my child goes to an international school, but my husband's name is written first and mine second, no matter what, despite the fact that I'm the only one who attends the PTMs, who takes the call, who leaves her to everything. So that's the society we live in. So talking of stereotypes, I think that is there. And when you're talking of wellness and wellness programs in an organization, as an HR head, and I think most of the HR guys will be able to, I was always, past 20 years, I have been more like an event manager on these kind of days, where people ask you, to kya hone wala hai party, like you said that, okay, some kind of party is going to happen on Women's Day or whatever, lunch kahan karna, that, and as if that is what is your job, you don't do, so people's strategy is really not very important. The stereotype is that if you are an HR person, your large job is to arrange events and look after, so while you are talking of these kind of stereotypes, I think, men come from the fact that who are brilliant, who are strategize, whereas women who are multitaskers, and we are always offering help. With that stereotype, it comes that corporate wellness is also comes on the women's lap, because we are nurturing, you see. We are multitaskers, you see. We are motherly, you see. So that's why corporate wellness is also largely put in the bucket of women. So please handle this, because you guys can handle it better, you see. So we handle everything.
I think Sagarika is having a bit of a net issue.
Get so
She's back. She's back. Okay. Sagarika, you there? Sagarika, are you able to hear us?
yeah,
Able to hear us?
I just logged off. Yes.
Sagarika, you can switch off your video. Maybe then your audio will be better.
Right.
Yeah. Okay. I think I'll do that. It's really.
Yeah, hopefully it will be better now, Sagarika.
Yeah, I hope so. So wellness to me is the whole human being, the mind, body, and soul, like I was talking about. And a healthy life is a result of wellness across all aspects of life, whether it's emotional, physical, spiritual, or the other. And talking of wellness, and especially for women, women do have unique issues as well. We do have pregnancy and pregnancy-related issues. And that one can never negate. We do have issues. Some of us do have issues of working alone. We do have issues of managing ergonomics in the home offices. We do have
Sagarika, we are losing you again.
Communicating in the right fashion about yourself, because we downtones are there to talk about that, how wellness is also gender biased, and they may be leaning one way or the other in the given.
Sagarika, we lost you again. Okay.
She's
Sagarika?
connecting with another
Yeah, I think.
device, I think.
Yeah.
This is better.
Yeah. Okay. Thanks.
Yeah. So lastly, I think we should move beyond fixing women issues, and it's important to support, beyond he or she or the. I think it's very important to support corporate wellness, and especially after the kind of era we have gone through. I think whether bias or no biases, it's very important that we steer wellness programs in our organization, and it will, of course, do good in retaining employees in the organization for a longer run. Because that's what is here to stay. And of course, researchers also say that that's the best thing which an organization can do to the employees.
Thanks, Sagarika.
Bobby, just to put it on the positive side, so if women as Sagarika can say do this job better, so let the women do it, because if we have to build an equitable structure for tomorrow, let's take these actions and do positive take positive actions that will impact the women worldwide. So I am pretty happy if women takes this job.
No, absolutely, sure. That goes without
Because I'm
saying.
just giving another side, though that's a bias in itself. So if somebody is doing it, somebody is actually doing it, it's fine.
No, absolutely. And I think you're spot on, Shirley. What I was trying to drive at is to see whether there is a more, how do I say it, nuanced underpinning to it, right? You remember that Sheryl Sandberg talking about likability and success being positive related for men and positively not correlated for women, right? That famous example she keeps on giving. And I think Sagarika touched upon it, right? She said we are seen as multitaskers, we are seen as amiable, we are seen as, and the man is seen as brilliant, and hence he will drive a strategic business initiative, and I will drive wellness. I mean, if I'm good at it, and the man is good at it, let him drive it as well. Is what I was saying.
But again, I think. Bobby, I think we missed because of the network. I also mentioned that there are a few organizations who also look at these work beyond biases. So there are also men who do this job very well, and but generally that's when you talk of stereotype, that is what we fall in. So I think because of the network, the few words probably must have gone inside. So that's what I said, that it depends on an organization. See, large organizations can also afford to have somebody who's managing the benefits, whereas a smaller organization, there's one person who's managing almost everything. So HR person is managing communication, admin, health awareness, everything. So it also depends on this, but general societal stereotype, when you talk about this, these are the stereotypes which clearly comes across.
Wonderful. I just want to add in, Bobby. In fact, my organization, we have 50% women and 50% men in the HR team. A. B, when I talked about mental health champions, we have drawn from across all genders, people with physical disabilities, veterans. So we have different, BRGs, as we say, business resource groups. So we brought in everybody as part of the mental wellness or mental health champions. So not just women who were, again, we were trying to break that bias and the stereotype by calling out to everyone and saying this is an inclusive, we all belong.
And that's the way forward for all of us. I think you cannot really go by saying that this is a man's job and this is a woman's job. When women are breaking the stereotypes to drive to ride an aircraft or do everything what a man can do, I think a man can also do what a woman can do.
True, very true, Sagarika. And I love that quote that you made from your friend's book that women are not dying because of diseases, but because the society has not decided the types of work. It is a very, very powerful quote. Thank you, Dr. Sagarika. Before we move on to Annapurna, Yashwant, if you are there, would you be able to put on the first poll? If that's possible. Okay. So we have a small poll coming up. Hopefully, technology will support us this time and not give way. And then we'll move on to the next question for Annapurna. Just waiting for Yashwant to, put it up as we speak.
Yes. Are you able to speak now?
So, yeah, something is coming up.
Yes.
As of now, I can see myself on the PPT or whatever. Okay, yeah, there is a poll here, right? And okay, if both the polls have come together, I don't know why, but nevertheless, the first one is, do you think organizations are serious about wellness or they are doing this as a response to a crisis only? Do we have to give options for both the polls in one go, Yashwant, or we can do it the second one later? What do you think?
I think the second one has not started yet.
Okay.
The first one,
we can go with the first one. Okay. Yeah. So everybody who's there on the webinar, if you can give your response to the first one, which says, do you think organizations are serious about wellness, or B, they're doing this just as a response to the crisis only, and then submit your answers.
I think without answering the second one, we cannot submit.
Yeah, I believe it is for both. It is for both.
We need to.
Okay. So maybe you can answer both and then submit. And you're right. We have to answer both because even I was not able to answer just one. Okay, so Yashwant, I'm assuming you can see the responses and you can tell us if everybody has responded to the question.
Sure, sure. Yeah, so we are getting the responses now. I believe 15 people are there.
Okay, and you can let us know what is the response for the first question.
Yes,
Right? How
so
many-
to point, we have close to 50% people responding for the first one.
Okay,
I request everyone to, quickly submit the responses.
okay. If we have 70 to 80% of people responding, Yashwant, maybe we can just go ahead.
Sure, sure. We have got 15 responses so far.
But second, very few people have responded till now.
Yes,
Okay.
so everyone can respond to both the questions so that, it is in order.
Okay, so meanwhile, we'll go ahead with the question to Annapurna as we wait for the poll to close in the interest of time. And that's the question, Annapurna, as well, that we put up in the poll. This entire wellness campaign, call it campaign, a plethora of initiatives, some people call it, the naysayers call it propaganda. It all started with the pandemic. But to put the same question to you, which was there in the poll, what do you think? Are organizations really serious about this for whatever reason? I think somebody spoke at the start about how, it's also affecting the finances as well. And is this going to stay? Or you think this is just a response to a crisis? And once the crisis recedes and we have more business challenges coming up, margins are dropping, revenues are going away, we'll be back to where we were, square one, and the entire spotlight on wellness receding.
Thank you, Bobby. Thank you. Wonderful questions and wonderful thoughts from my co-panelists. I'm audible, I suppose, right? Okay, thank you. So first of all, when we think of COVID, I think we have to take a step back because none of us have seen such a type of pandemic in our lives. We all have seen epidemics. We all have gone through. I myself being in a very, very deep place in Orissa because I belong to such a Adivasi place where I have seen such type of endemics and things like that and all. So I understand what it is. But pandemic, I think for all of us, it has been for the first time. So we don't know how to react. What kind of things we have to really take care, whether it is physical, whether it is emotional, mental, whatever challenges which have gone through, none of us knew how to take care of these challenges. Any leader per se has gone through business challenges, different challenges, but this challenge, I think all of us are learning what works best, what doesn't work best. We have no clue about it. Coming to the second point, has wellness become the top priority for all the organizations or for human being per se? The answer is yes. Because now, even if the corporate doesn't take it up, it has been a force which has come through each human. Because each human has realized, telling that life is so very important. I need to take care of it. At the end of it, it is like my own life, my people life, my family, my relatives. So many things have been under question. And so much of one moment, we have seen a resource crunch. And I think you want to talk about this little before. Okay, the poll, which you're seeing it.
I think we are pretty much divided equally in terms of both the options.
Right.
Right. And it's a small sample size, so I don't think that small difference really makes any, significant impact. So
yes,
I think they're good. Please go ahead.
Yeah. Okay. So having said that, what has happened is, yes, it has come as a force. Previously, this was like a best way of practice, best practice. Someone adopted it, someone showcased it in some competitions and things. I'm having wellness campaigns, I'm having wellness officer, something like this, something like that and all. Today, it has become a mandate. Exactly in 2013, if we go back, when we got a POSH Act, we also got a mental health care bill. And then it was supposed to be get converted into an act and all, which also did not give the entirety of a mental health. It just talked about suicide ratios and things like that and all, and it got subsided. We didn't talk about it. Today, is there a need for such kind of acts which have to come and we have to regulate it and we have to put it in the workplaces? Yes, it is time for us now. And it is a mandate. So that's one. And again, one more question. Was it a tick box? in most organizations, telling that, because there was a COVID, let us put a tick box that we did wellness. What did we do? We called some experts, we did some yoga, we did some meditation, we did this, we did that and all. Last 2 years, Bobby, I had researched and reached out to 10,000 people just driving only on emotional literacy. My campaign was only emotional literacy, talking about emotions and things like that. People didn't understand how and to deal with emotions. Like, what is an emotion? Where do they come from? Is emotion a data? And if supposing it comes, should I bottle it up or should I express it? Where to express it? How to regulate my emotion? Lot of these things. And we all have gone through a lot of emotions. And with those emotions, with that emotional backgrounds, we were there in workplaces. Leave about mental. We are not at all arrived anywhere there. We are not even closer over there. Is it emotional wellness as it is? Are we there? No, big question mark. Why? When we dig back and see, we see that none of our schools have provided social emotional learning. So we came from that pedigree. Did we learn anything in schools and colleges at higher education? No, the answer is nothing. How to manage my anger, how to manage my irritation, how to manage my depression, how to manage my worries, how to manage my fear? No, we landed up in workplaces. Now in workplaces, if I'm angry, no, regulate your anger. No, you cannot throw this, you cannot do this, you cannot shout this. Boss, I didn't learn this. I didn't know how to regulate my anger. I didn't know how to regulate my fear. I didn't know what to do. Don't cry. Why? Crying is not wrong. But we tell, no, you don't cry. Boys cry, girls don't cry. All these stereotypes. We grew and became so much bias. Today, bias is in bias. The word bias has bias, like that it has become. So what are we talking about? So when we have already devastated so much the system, today we are trying to tell that, okay, we will deal mental wellness, mental health. Mental health is a very far subject. And we have lots to do to arrive over there. So, okay, we have been very happy at least this COVID has brought up some eyes opener. You know, somewhere we are beginning. A small beginning has begun to talk about this and all. I'll just share one story pre-COVID, what has happened, where I dealt with it. You know, one of the sessions where I had in one of the organization, a lady whom I am sitting as a HR leader just to discuss that either she has to stay in the organization or she has to move out of the organization, make or break. She came, I sat, I was discussing. Then I told the incident was that she was a very, very excellent performer and she had been chosen for a great project. That project had given, I mean, it's about to give her all the chances in the world. Like she could have traveled the world. She has got excellent packages. She has an excellent network. Everything was fine. Okay. Now everything was fine. The moment her project manager was announced, she backed out. She immediately backed out by telling that, no, I will not work in this project and things like that. And no one has a choice to choose managers. We don't have. We all are given managers. Managers are there for us. They're already born for us before even we land. So where is it we are going to do? Then the moment went through, and that is the day when we are sitting with her by telling that, boss, you just can't tell like this. You have to adhere to the norms. And so now the discussion started. And previously also her manager started asking, what is it? Why you don't want to work with him? What issues you have? Did you hear about him something? Then she had all the answers as no. She came to my place. We had discussions. Then I slowly asked after some time, after long time of her silence, I asked, do you have anything which you feel that, which is not at all connected, but you want to share with me something? The moment I asked her question, I got her from a seat, I put my hand on her shoulder and asked, please share. It's all going to be with me. Don't worry. And your job is also not going to be at stake, but I will do my best, whatever I can. She started crying, weeping, catharsis. I allowed that to happen. After a while, she told, Annapurna, there is nothing to do at this point what is happening. As I talk, I'm still always my hair stand up. She told, there is nothing to do which is happening right now. My manager who has been allocated for me is also a wonderful person and I should be happy if I get a chance to work. So what has happened? So this has happened when I was 4 or 5 years old. She was sexually abused by her close maternal uncle. And this stayed back and the face of that person resembles the new manager. Just imagine this condition, guys, how it would be there. And this girl is not able to take it up. The whole episode went different way. It took 6 months to again build her, do it, everything and all. And how many such cases surface for us? I'm not even talking about post-COVID. I'm talking about pre-COVID also. We had issues. We are still having issues. There is another example I wanted to give. Once in a counseling session, I was sitting, one boy, young boy, 9th standard, he came and told, Auntie, I'm a big failure. I told, boss, yeah, 9th standard, koi bhi ho sakta hai. Maybe big failure, he would have failed in some maths, physics, some subjects or whatever it is. I was about to listen, and my eyes were very, this one, and I was patiently listening to him. He told, do you know, I tried 9 times to commit suicide and I was not successful. This is a teenager who's talking about. So where are we here? Where are we here? Even these are all pre-COVID I'm talking about. Post-COVID, at least we have started a little bit. Empathy and wellness, I don't know, still there is huge gap. Are we empathetic for anything? Are we good listeners? Are we basic listeners? No, we don't have anyone listening to us. We don't have something called listening hours. I promoted some part in my organization at this point of time. I identified 3 leaders who just listen. They will not judge. They will not talk. They will not do anything. Just listening. Listen to whatever you say without anything. Calmly, coolly listen to them. Then we'll see what happens next. We need listeners. Before we build up on wellness, mental wellness, doing programs, things like that and everything. There's a long journey for us to travel. And in all these things, I think we have been more reactive than being proactive. It is time for us now to be little proactive and start programs, start trainings, start champions. Whatever we do, it's just the tip of the iceberg. There's a lot of disaster already happened. I think pandemic has sat more in the wellness stage, because the pandemic would have been much better handled if we could have understood wellness at a very larger scale. And wellness is just not about only physical. It has 7, 6, 8 elements which we talk about, the wellness wheel, including financial wellness, emotional wellness, everything, whatever we talk. We have never been trained, or we have never been having literacy around all of these things. If we are able to try to, bring that to surface and make it happen, then I think that, yes, we are doing some justice towards it and all. And is it going to continue or is it going to stop? For me, this is beginning and this has to continue. If it doesn't continue, I think then we will go back again into the back of the era. And I think there is no way that someone has to stop, pause, or do something. It is individualistic now. So people are taking responsibility. People now, we don't tell that wear mask, wash your hands. It's auto. It has gone into the system for us. We take care of ourselves. We know what to do. We cannot gather everyone and all, because it has gone auto into our system. Similar way, people will think what I will eat, how much of rest I need, how should I take stress, how should I deal with people. All of this is coming slowly and slowly. And that's just the beginning of the change. I think it's a lot to do for us. But if we have forums talking more and more about this and things like that, and every sector has to be done. It's just not only corporate. It's just not higher education. It's just not women. It's just not adolescent children, homemakers, everyone, geriatric, everywhere there has to be a lot of programs, lot of discussions, rallying thorough about it. Then I think somewhere we will, narrow slowly this gap. And I think wellness will become an integral part of our system. These are my 2 bits and 2 cents of it. Thank you, Bobby, for the opportunity.
You just, took the air out of all of us with those 2 anecdotes, honestly, Annapurna. And, I could, the anecdote that you were sharing about the young boy and the girl, I remember reading in the newspaper about a counselor how she spoke to somebody who was almost on the brink of suicide for the entire night till she could reach help to that person, just to help that person not commit suicide. Fantastic work that you're doing, Annapurna, and more importantly, I think your passion shines through what you say. Fabulous. I mean, just love. I could listen to you all day. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Okay. On that note, I think we'll move to the next set of questions. I tried to structure the question first coming from an employer point of view, and then to come from an employee point of view. And I think, I was saying the answer to the second question, what is, wellness for you? Is it a nature retreat, a yoga camp, or is it a way of life? And more than 84%, I think, replied saying it's a way of life. So at least on that note, we are on the right path, right? So going back to Shirley, across the globe, right? Mental health issues, and I think Annapurna spoke about it, covered all facets of it. They are the leading causes of whether it is disability or illness, all of that. And more employers are also focusing on the importance of mental health. However, I was reading a recent piece of research, and it's really no surprise. And it says that workplace culture is the biggest roadblock employees face in their efforts to feel happier and healthier. And I think she spoke about, how a very innocuous thing, right? Just connecting the manager to somebody else, and this person could not just work, right? And we hear about employees working, whatever 12-hour days, and managers calling them up at all kinds of times. So that's really where the situation is. So what are your thoughts, Shirley, and what has been your experience in the multitude of organizations you have worked in?
So thank you, Bobby, for that question. And I really want to thank Annapurna. The passion that you spoke with touch our hearts. You've in fact answered all the questions. And as you said, are corporates ready to listen? Are corporates ready to accept the people, the employees, the way they are? Are they including our state of mind, the way we want to work? That what makes corporate culture, right? Corporate culture doesn't get built overnight. It takes decades to build a particular culture of a corporate or a workplace that we talk. And I think as Peter Drucker said, I mean, culture can eat strategy for breakfast any day. I mean, that cliche has never been truer before than the pandemic, For me, I mean, what is corporate culture? It's just three more important elements is like, if it gives me a sense of purpose in my life, I want to work, right? Another thing, it is like, it gives me growth parameters or growth opportunities in an organization. However, one of the important things is community. When we are working in a workplace, there are communities around us. We have teams that we work in. We have, a particular unit that we work in. And when we work around with us and our colleagues, we build trust. We have managers who will trust us. We have respect for each other. And when all these happens, then is the time when we have the capabilities to listen to employees. I mean, even if you have all of these in place and one day you have an employee who's just not able to work and she says, I have some particular challenge, and then employees and the manager says, forget your own challenge, but you have to finish within this deadline. Where is the corporate culture for that employee? The corporate culture is out the window. So everyone has to kind of experience it, believe in it. And as a corporate, I mean, this is what it is. From the corporate point of view, are you accepting your employees, the people who come to work, their diversity with their stereo, or are you wanting employees categorized into your stereotype that you want everybody very hardworking, everybody working 12 hours a day? You don't need their opinions and thoughts. You don't know how they behave in different challenges. If you're looking at stereotypes, then you don't actually need human beings. You can have the work done by robots, right? So corporate culture is not made of big things. They're made of very, very small things that everybody has spoken about. If we are able to listen to our employees, what are the challenges they're going through? If we give them a platform to express their challenges, to learn from each other, and we include or provide an inclusion, as diversity and inclusion is a big thing. What is inclusion? Inclusion is accepting the employee the way they are, with their thought processes, with their attitudes, with their reactions that they react to different challenges, with their different innovative ideas. And I think if just small little things we're able to do in everyday lives by our managers and corporate leaders will go a long way.
Thanks. Thanks, Shirley. Thank you for that answer. I'm just checking with Sagarika if her network issue is resolved. Sagarika, are you able to hear us? And you're on mute, Sagarika. You're on mute.
It's not getting. Yeah.
Sorted,
I
right?
think. Yeah, it was. I think only when my chance of speaking that something. Internet didn't want to hear me.
Internet also wants you to take an off on International Women's Day.
Oh, I guess so.
Okay. So before the network starts playing hooky again, Sagarika, let me ask my question to you.
Please do shoot.
Yeah. So I think, Sagarika, I mean, it's been apparent from whatever answers we have received that organizations have gone much beyond pure health insurance or psychological safety, right? And we've moved in some ways to the other end of the spectrum, right? Where each organization is offering a plethora of wellness initiatives, right? My question to you is, is this really helping in the sense that when I offer this huge number of wellness programs, am I also passing across a tacit message to employees that, you need this because you're working hard, you're working long hours. So you use this and it's okay to work hard and work long. So essentially, our afternoon yoga sessions and breakfast spreads really resolving the issue, Sagarika?
Well, the verdict is already out. You saw the way of life, which is what is more important. But talking of, what you said, that, when you go to an organization and the organization is also working to make profit so that that organization can pay salaries to everybody on time. And compensation and benefits are two things which is very important and a very healthy part of motivating or encouraging an employee. Yeah, am I audible? Or it's again gone? Can you hear me?
We can, Sagarika. Go ahead, please. Okay, just when I said we can, Sagarika, can you unmute yourself? We were able to hear you.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, because I all of a sudden saw the screen freezing again. So I was wondering.
No, you are audible.
So talking of, I'm sure what you meant with the yoga and afternoon lunches and, all these sessions is largely the benefits, the non-monetary benefits, which an organization offers. And with the way of life is that the employee always wants something which an organization does to show that it cares about you beyond work, right? So it could be flexible working hours, it could be time off from work, it could be many things, plethora of things which each organization's as human resources also, we keep thinking, innovating, that how can you retain more talent. And I also would like to share a story, because I think that is what is very important to send this message, and which is not related to wellness or health, but it is I, as an HR director on the board of a large retail conglomerate, attended a funeral of a store executive's father. And that person was very motivated worker. He was, in retail stores, you normally put things in the shelf. So he was at that level. We call them associates. So I went and when I came back a few days later, he came to me and he said, "Ma'am, I'm sorry, but I have joined the union." And union is a big menace in this kind of organizations. And that boy was very pleasant, in sports and all that. So I've seen him on and off on the store floor. So I was very disturbed with that. So, and you normally don't interact with associates at that level, but I still went down to the store to talk to this fellow, and I said, not that I want to dissuade you or whatever, but I want to check with you what happened. Why did you join the union? What is that? What has prompted you? So he said, "Ma'am, aap mere ghar aayenge to main aapko bataunga." Okay. So I said, "I'll come home." So I went home and I went to his place. He had a small sister who was studying, and of course, father was also working, and of course had health issues, and he had passed away. And while I was talking, why he had joined union? He had joined the union because he needed that 20,000 rupees to do the final rites of his father. And that particular time, in Bangalore, there are these pawnbrokers, who are also associated. So basically politically connected or whatever. So they said, "We will give you this 20,000 rupees today. And see, I am standing for you, but you have to stand for this." And hence I had no choice but to join, because this 20,000 rupees is what I have taken from them. I was just howling because the mother had lost all her jewelry. They had nothing else for that 20,000 bucks. He had to do this, and probably he would be asked to do much more than organization damage. I came back and I couldn't sleep that night. And then I started to talk to all those people who were the union guys, who had joined the unions at that level. Everybody had something similar to tell, somebody for sisters' marriage, somebody for something else, somebody for, mother's health had joined this union. So I came back and I discussed that in the board, and then finally with other seniors as well, to say that can we create a corpus from our own salaries. We say, so in MNCs, normally you cannot do things, there are too many approvals, etc., etc. So can we decide a particular amount, saying a membership, and we decided on the basis of levels. So the senior most will pay the highest, and probably associate level are 10 bucks. And we'll create a corpus. Now, why we asked everybody to pay? So that you have some kind of accountability to it. And we started to say that, okay, in this kind of, for a wedding, we will give this kind of money for this from this particular account. It was a very small initiative, but I got a call from the international union, affiliated union, to say that what are you doing, madam, that everybody is leaving the union, and that particular company became union free. So it's not about health. It's about listening. It's about listening, and it's about reacting at the right time. It is so easy for us, to and especially when we are at the senior level, we are busy doing strategies, we are busy doing other things. It's very important to put your ear to the ground. And I think all good leaders can do it. For me, it was such an overwhelming experience that I have vowed myself that I always keep in touch with somebody, at that level, and listen to them, because you somehow lose connect with people who are at that level. So coming back to that, so it's not about doing yoga. It's about what you should do for your organization so that the employees are happy, they stay with you, and they are healthy state of mind. I think during COVID, there are many who have put everything, especially I think for the HR guys, they have I know many girls, many young girls who have been in HR, put their own personal challenges behind and worked in the front end to make sure that they make people's life easy. So I think all those who have done that are now seeing the results. They will see less employee attrition. They will see the effect, cascading effect of doing good things in the organization in many ways, in multifold. And I think that is what is important in today's day and time. While I agree, it's a vice versa. Return on investment is very important for employers, and that is going to stay. But what's going on in the organization? And I think all engagement surveys ask you that one question. So with that, I would say, Bobby, that end of the day, all of us are very, no matter how much good work we do, but if the result is not having your star employees, or the employees you want to stay are not staying with you, then no matter what you do, how many yoga sessions you do, how many dance programs you do, it's just useless. So what's important is that what you're doing and what you're getting, that's what is very important. So I think it's very important to do things, do the benefit program around what is needed in the organization. And at the moment you're able to, like a good doctor is, you consider somebody a good doctor only when he has diagnosed what has happened. Similarly, for an organization, if you have diagnosed the issue of an employee and treated it well, I think it goes the long way. And that's what a lot of good organizations do. So, and unfortunately, organization who can afford to do should keep doing more. And your organization also is doing a lot more. Of course, Kiranmai also shared, and all of you. And with bright women, I'm sure the organizations are going to make this particular effort much more harder post-COVID, because everybody, like Annapurna said, have realized that your, mine, everybody else's life is more important, and work-life balance is very important. Yeah.
Thank you. Thanks, Sagarika. Thank you. And what a wonderful gesture that you and your organization did. I must applaud that. I mean, like Shirley said, culture eats strategy for breakfast. So that's what matters more than any strategizing that you can do in the boardroom. So thanks, Sagarika. I'll move very quickly in the interest of time to Annapurna and Kiranmai. I think Annapurna, you touched upon, and you brought out a very very significant point that while POSH became an act so many years back, mental health, in terms of an act, is yet to be passed. And that's probably the ask of the day. So my question to you is, while leave for things like physical ill health has become par for course in most organizations, I don't see too many instances where I see an employee going and telling the manager that, what, I'm not feeling right up to the mark mentally and I should take a leave. And more importantly, the manager saying yes. So it's still a far cry. And in this kind of a situation, offering something else to that employee, whether it is, like I said, a yoga or a spiritual retreat or whatever, really doesn't serve the purpose, because you're denying him or her what most he or she needs, right? What are your 2 quick cents on that?
Thanks, Bobby. I think 2 things is, one is we cannot ignore anymore the mental health issues. We have to put it on priority. If someone is telling that I am feeling depressed, that is a big thing. That's a big thing. And we cannot shun it away by telling, oh, what depression? How can it happen? It has never happened to me. How can you get depressed? What is making you depressed? These are all the questions which you have. Second is, we need to create a platform in the organizations. If supposing the moment the person is telling, I'm not feeling okay, today I'm feeling very low, or I have gone through something, I want to talk to someone, there is somewhere a very psychologically safe place. And everyone has their bias. So let us create some people, some champions, some trained, people where they can go and discuss this. Number one, if there is something, we are certified counselors, whatever, trained counselors or educated, they can go discuss. Once they have done that, if it needs further treatment, we have to support this. Because today the call for lot of things, even before COVID, I know Bangalore people were getting depressed. Employees were getting depressed because they used to travel on road for 3 hours. And that was a cause of main, physical stress, mental stress, lot of human beings getting into conflicts, lot of things, irritations and all. So simple things to there, from there to a lot of other things which has happened. I remember before, again, I can quote one guy, one data scientist, with one mailer from one customer in front of our eyes, fell down from a 9th floor building and this and took his life. That was a window which was made of complete glass. That's the time they have told for that building not to take out all the windows and replace it with some other things. But what can happen? One mailer from one customer, that boy couldn't take it up. One girl, she went to her hometown, Goa. She came back and she jumped off again from one of the software tech park just because she didn't want to have that marriage. Right? Where would they go and discuss such things? And these all cannot be ignored. And managers, leaders also have to be trained that while we discuss performance issues, we need to even discuss some other health issues or so many other. Let us make voluntarily a thing. How are you? Doesn't mean that statement cannot be answered as I am good. It is not a motherhood statement. I am not okay. When you're telling that I'm not okay, that means there is something else to this. So can we do something about this? And sooner or later, I think it will come that we have to support them in form of leaves, in form of medical support, in form of insurance, because depression is going to be the biggest thing which is going to attack. And it has already come. It's not that it is not attacked us. It has already come. It is already there in our system. I think soon corporates have to see that it is not something which can be ignored. And we need to create some kind of places, people, champions, trainings, awareness. All of this is there on our shoulders. And break the bias of telling that visiting a counselor or a psychiatrist doesn't mean that we are mentally sick or mad or pagal. And certain types of words used when throughout of life. Arey, ye to pagal aadmi hai, ye pagal bachcha hai. No, it's a big no, because that sits in the head. that sits very, very unconsciously. It goes into the brain of the citizen, and it gets into that wiring there. Pagal means something like. So we should not use certain terminologies also. So these are all some things which we can make safe places for work. People feel nice. People feel that they can share. There are someone who can take care. There are something which cannot it's confidential, means confidential. That's it. Today HR is not believed, because sometimes what will happen is, when we talk about compensation, they tell that, hey, your compensation is no confidentiality, everyone discuss it. But in this scenario, no one will discuss it. They will never. So the onus lies on people, leaders like us and HR as such, that yes, let us keep it confidential, but let us support this. It's time to support. These are my thoughts about it. Thank you, Bobby.
Fantastic.
Thank you.
Fantastic, Annapurna. I mean, and how true, the cultural conditioning is happening from childhood onwards, just because we are using words wrongly, in wrong context, in the wrong situation, and we grow up with that inherent bias. Like you said, there is a bias in bias. So, it's all there, it's already inside. Thank you so much, Annapurna. Fantastic. I'm loving this discussion, but in the interest of time, we just have about 5 minutes left. I will just go with one last question to Kiranmai. So Kiranmai, a slightly sensitive question, right? So research says that when leaders develop, compassion muscles, and they develop greater trust among team members, only when they expose their own vulnerability, right? For example, an occasion, you're talking about a personal challenge or something gone wrong, right? Yet we all know that vulnerability involves uncertainty, it involves risk, it involves emotional exposure, right? You've been a leader across multiple industries, multiple organizations, you've been in academics and industries. As a leader, what has been your approach to showing that you are vulnerable yet resilient to your own team members?
Beautiful, beautiful question, Bobby. And first of all, thank you to ISTD and NIPM for this wonderful session, because listening and learning from my co-panelist, Anu, of course, I know, and she would always blow your mind with her thoughts. Shirley and Sagarika, it's been really awesome listening to each one of you. Now, having said that, vulnerability, you touched upon a very, very significant and important aspect of leadership, because we always create these, going back to what Sagarika was talking, those stereotypes, right? We create this and say, oh, if you're a leader, then you can't show your emotion, you can't show your vulnerability. I mean, we're not superhuman. Nobody is a superhuman. We create those characters because it's aspirational, it's fun, it's entertainment, whatever. Unfortunately, we've created this in the mindset where we say, oh, leader cannot show this aspect. Leader needs to be strong. I think that's a myth which needs to be busted. So in my own experience, I can share, there was a year where everything came crashing. And it can happen to anyone. My only child met with a major accident, and we've got no idea whether she would ever be, she was incapacitated. We weren't sure whether she'll ever be able to get up from, the bed or be able to walk. No idea. My spouse had a major, problem detected, and he has to undergo surgery. My father was in the ICU. I mean, it sounds very filmy, but that's exactly happened one after another. And I was in a very senior role, obviously, one level down in a Fortune 500 company to the CEO. And I'm dealing with 38 plus countries and no stopping me. And with all this, everything comes to a now. What is more important today for me is looking at the child, the spouse, all the people I care for, and most important to me. Now, what's my priority? My priority is to attend to them, to be by their side. And that's exactly the decision I've taken. And okay, it took me a while to get out of the organization, but I made a decision and said, only for important and urgent calls I'm available. Otherwise, I am no longer going to be part. So long story short, now I bounced back. It took a year plus for everything to come back to normalcy, touch wood. They're all doing well. And I'm very fortunate the way it turned out. It's magical, right? Now, when I go back, or even during that phase, I was dealing with a very critical M&A for the company. It was very critical, and we were closing the last pieces. And hence, I stayed on with the company for another 8 months post my resignation, primarily because those critical, sensitive conversations, because I was part of the due diligence and the reverse due diligence and everything, any dialogue, they needed me to be present, which I committed to the organization. So during that phase, I didn't really meet anybody. I shunned away from the world, so as to say, socially, because it was too much to handle. And for me, it's more important to just take care of the near and dear ones and attending those important calls, as we would say. People did come to know, because eventually they will come to know, through someone. And there was an outpour of, how they want to meet. And I was crystal clear. That's where that fine balance between my emotional vulnerability, I'm breaking down. I mean, it was too much to handle. It's overwhelming as a human being. On the other hand, the resilience, the agility, if it's not me, who else? I need to stand strong because I have to manage this. So I think today there's a beautiful juxtaposition, Bobby, which you're hearing in terms of leadership attributes, where you say you perform, but be ready to transform. In the sense, you keep things going, what needs to go on, but you're also looking at the long term and where the end goal is, which is extremely difficult because it's two opposite ideas, as we would say, which you have to handle in your brain. So managing those two, yet, yeah, of course. I mean, you can ask me as a woman, people might say, oh, people very rarely would see me. They see me as a very strong person, right? That's what the kind of roles I played. But I didn't hesitate. I didn't shy away from breaking down because that's an outlet. That's my vulnerability. I need that because unless I pour it out either to a close friend or for myself, then I'm able to think calmly, because there is a logical self and there is emotional self. I have to strike a balance. If I have to strike a balance, I have to give it that sucker. I have to allow it to come out. I can't bottle it and then say I'm resilient. It's going to come out as a volcano at some point. So straddling between those two, identifying that I'm human and I'm vulnerable, and be willing to talk about it, even if it's with a select few, and managing through it, and being able to stand up and tell people, yes, I went through this tough phase. It is not easy, but I didn't know how to cope with it, but I learned as I kept going. I think that was so important. So if you ask me what's the mantra, I would never shy away. I would never hesitate to tell my team or others where it needs to show my vulnerability. If I made a mistake, I will say, that is my bad. I didn't realize, because I'm telling them I'm human just as they are human. And that's where that safe to fail environment, that's okay, and others will start speaking up and sharing. Because if you look like a superhuman and a superwoman and you're too strong, you're creating that fortress around you as a leader, and people will shy away from sharing in case they are going through a tough spot. So you are actually creating barriers without realizing that you're creating barriers. Vulnerability actually is a beautiful way of showing your authenticity. So you can clearly create a nuance or a dynamic where we're not saying at the drop of a hat you cry or you're going. That's not what we mean. But if there are serious challenges you're undergoing or somebody else is undergoing, you should be able to show your compassion and empathy. And it's okay to let go of the emotions. It's that moment, and we have to allow that to happen. I think that's the call out today when we look at organizations and leadership frames which are shifting, and shifting for the better is what I would say.
Fantastic, fantastic, Kiranmai. There couldn't have been a more befitting closure. And thank you, more importantly, for sharing an anecdote which is obviously so deeply personal to you. It's not easy. It needs a lot of courage to do that. And I think as we go up the hierarchy, it becomes even more difficult once you become a leader, there is this invisible barrier which comes up in terms of sharing something which is so deeply personal. So thank you very much. And we're so happy that everything turned out fine, Kiranmai. I think in the interest of time, we will not be able to take questions. Right, Pritima?
Yeah, Bobby, but there are a few participants who would like to make a comment or something, like Dr. Mukta Datta. She's from a mental health background. So she wanted to say something. And any other participant also, if they want to very quickly make a point, please do. So we'll just take about 2-3 minutes and then we'll close.
Okay, so Dr. Mukta Datta, maybe.
Yeah. Yes. First of all, good evening and thanks very much. I'm a social psychologist based in Gurgaon, and I've worked a lot on mental health and wellness. So I'll just like to say it was a very tough time during the COVID times, and companies have been very progressive. They have empaneled people like us. And we had, first of all, the introductory sessions, then with the sessions with the employees, then extended them to their families. And all the, the financials, they were handled by the companies. The only focus was to please come out in the open and accept that these are the challenges which everybody is facing. And I'll just like to just sum it up. It's not only listening, it is first talking. Talking and listening are both equally important. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Dr. Datta. That was wonderfully insightful, I think. Very important. Any other audience member who wants to make a very quick suggestion, thought, or question? Maybe one or two.
I think Dr. Purnima Chauhan is there. She wants to say something. Hi.
Sure, please go ahead.
Thank you so much, Pritima. And I think Pritima knows that I went, I had a tough job as an IS officer, many responsibilities. At the same time, I had both my parents terminally ill. And now when I just heard, that asking for help, it doesn't make you small. It doesn't make you less of a leader. In retrospect, yes, I totally agree. We all want to come across as super women, but we come across as more human women when we ask for help. And what is it that we are denying ourselves that opportunity of one, being human, and of one, opening up that we have vulnerabilities too, and we can relate to our immediate, peer group, seniors, juniors, whatever. Because we don't trust. There is a trust deficit that whether you will get it from the environment or not, but I think that is a gamble we can take. And I learned it the hard way. Thank you so much. It's been very insightful hearing everybody.
Thank you, Dr. Chauhan, so much. Yep. I'm assuming there are no more questions, suggestions, or thoughts. If that's the case, before handing it over to Dr. Suri for a formal vote of thanks, I would like to close this session with some lines from one of my favorite poems from one of my favorite authors, and it goes something like this: "You may write me down in history with your bitter, twisted lies. You may trot me in the very dirt, but still, like dust, I'll rise. Leaving behind nights of terror and fear, I rise. Into a daybreak that's wondrously clear, I rise. Bringing the gifts that my ancestors gave. I am the dream and the hope of the slave. I rise, I rise, I rise." Wow. That's Maya Angelou for you, ladies and gentlemen, from Still I Rise. Thank you very much for this opportunity. I go to you, Dr. Suri.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you. Before Dr. Suri give a formal vote of thanks, I would request each and every participant here to put one line about the program. Please give your comment in the chat box, one line comment in the chat box for wonderful moderator and panelists, please. Thank you very much. And Dr. Suri.
Thank you, Mukesh Ji. Thank you, Dr. Rao. Thank you, Bobby Patnaik. Thank you, Pritima Ji. And thank you, Dr. Annamai. Thank you, Annapurna Ji and Annapurna Ji. And thank you, all the participants who are over here. And I would be feeling in my duty if I do not express that the kind of the knowledge which I have acquired today is phenomenal. It has been a really thought-provoking, highly sensitive issues came to surface in a very beautiful manner by almost all the panelists. I must thank all the participants for listening to the panelists, and from the organizers of Indian Society for Training and Development, I thank on behalf of National Institute of Personal Management Delhi chapter, and on behalf of TalktoAngel mental health and well-being platform, which I am mentoring. I would like to put across, during the first phase of the COVID, we had provided mental health support to 1 lakh people. And currently we have more than 200 odd psychologists, clinical psychologists, psychiatrists on the platform. And we are committed to provide safe, secure environment of talking, listening, and providing the support, be it without medication, be it evidence-based therapies like cognitive behavior therapy, dialectic behavior therapy, and acceptance and commitment therapy. I recently carried out a survey in which I asked for, wherein 5,600 people participated in the survey. 2/3 of the people said visiting to psychologist is not a stigma. So we are moving forward on those lines, wherein people are coming forward to seek the help, talk about it. I remember when I passed out as a clinical psychologist in 1987, it was a big stigma. Today, it is not that a stigma globally. So the pandemic has taught us, and I am really thankful to all the panelists for enlightening all of us. With that, thank you very much. Thank you, Mukesh ji. You can take it further, sir.
Thank you, Dr. Suri. So, Yashwant, any special comments, please? I would like to inform you that on 11th, there is a program. Madam Pritima, please, would you like to tell?
Yeah, so we have an evening talk on Friday, the 11th at 6 o'clock, and the topic is self-branding. Self-branding. And the speaker is Dr. Rita Gangwani, right? She's an author and she's a mentor, and I mean, she's comes on the TV and very popular and good speaker. So we will be sending the formal communication to you by tomorrow. Please do attend.
Sure. So second thing, NIPM is celebrating its 42nd Foundation Day on 15th of March. So we would request everybody to participate in that. We'll send the communication to all very soon. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, everyone. On behalf of NIPM Delhi NCR chapter, I once again, express my gratitude to all the eminent speakers and the moderator, Pritima ma'am, Mukesh sir, and Dr. Suri sir, Shastri ji sir is here. Thank you everyone for once again making it a great session. I truly believe that women of tomorrow have to be aspirational. They have to be bold, and they also have to be collaborative. So it's ABC put together. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you, everybody.
Thanks a lot.
नमस्कार बॉबी जी, बहुत वंडरफुल सेशन, बहुत बढ़िया जी, मजा आ गया, बहुत अच्छा आपने मॉडरेट करा. Thank you very much. We are grateful to everyone. We are grateful to everyone.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Good night.
Thank you, ji. Good night.
Bye, Bobby. It was lovely knowing you.
Thank you.
Bye.